Welcome to the Dentistry Become the Tooth Fairy Sidekick event, part of our PreHealth application week. Um, my name is Christina. I'm a career counselor, PreHealth pre-med advisor at the UCLA Career Center, and we are putting together this event to help pre-dental students get to know our UCLA Dentistry School and NYU's program. Abby, can you? Yes. So the pre-health application week, it's our very first program of this type. And it's leading up to the health school fair, which will be happening on tomorrow, on Friday the 16th. As you can see on the schedule, earlier we had a lot of programs. We still have the post-bac one coming up this afternoon. And we hope to do this again next year. But and now the health school week. So health school week, health school fair, sorry, is something that we do every year in April. Tomorrow it's going to be a Zoom fair, and you can find all the details and how to register and how to manage the platform on that prehealth@ucla.edu application week link. It's a very easy platform to manage, and you can schedule one-on-one appointments with admissions representatives from multiple professional schools and many dental schools as well. Why to attend the fair? You can ask in-depth questions about the application process and explore and compare programs. You can learn about financial options. You can talk to test prep services. So there are a lot of benefits for attending the health school fair. There is another event that's coming up next week that I really wanted to mention. It's a webinar on how to write a personal statement for dental school is going to take place on Wednesday, April the 21st, starting at 4 p.m. And I highly recommend to attend this event as well if you start working on your personal statement. And now I'm going to introduce Madeline. And by the way, I just want to mention that Abigail Johnson is my partner in crime. She is from Residential Life, and this pre-health application week, it's a collaboration between the UCLA Career Center, Residential Life, academic counseling, and numerous student organizations like PDSOP who have supported us throughout this whole week. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. And Madeline, feel free to take it over.
Hello. Hi, I'm Madeline Motametti. I'm a third year undergrad psychobio major, and I'm a pre-dental student. And I just wanted to talk about PDSOP a little bit with you guys. So I'm part of this really cool organization on campus for pre-dental students called Pre-Dental Student Outreach Program. And we are actually the biggest pre-dental organization. So we get about over 100 people coming to our general meetings for each meeting, which is really cool for our members because they get to interact with a lot of pre-dental students and form study groups or just, get into that pre-dental community. We also provide a lot of really cool opportunities for our general members, which are constantly sent out over email after our general meetings. So these opportunities include volunteering, shadowing, job opportunities. So that's really cool to be a part of. Along with that, we also have socials for our members. So this looks a little bit different now that we're online, but it used to be really cool where we could go to different places in Westwood and all the pre-dentals would get to hang out. Now it looks a little bit different. We're all doing game nights online, but besides that, in terms of other opportunities, we work closely with ASDA. So we are the first oftentimes to know about events going on with the UCLA Dental School. We also have really cool mentorship opportunities. So I know as a pre-dental, it can get really easy to get caught up in, applying to dental school, what dental school is going to be like, but we also want to expose our members to what life is going to look like after dental school. So we have an alumni mentorship program where we pair up our members with practicing dentists. So you guys can ask any questions. And we also have other opportunities like a big SIB, Little SIB program where our members can be paired up with the dental students currently going to school. And sometimes just in general, it's hard to find information about various dental schools. And we get to have a lot of different admissions officers come to our school so you guys can ask personal questions and just hear them talk about their school, which is awesome. Additionally, I know the awards section can be hard to fill out sometimes on the application, especially going to such a large university like UCLA. So we award our members who are really involved by giving them active membership recognition and gold membership, as well as student of the year and student of the quarter. And in terms of COVID, we used to be fully in person. We would meet at the dental school for our general meetings and have socials, community service events, but now this is fully online. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen in the fall as the situation is constantly changing, but we will keep our members updated. If you guys are interested, whether you are fully committed to dentistry or even partially interested, please come to one of our general meetings and get a feel for it. You can ask our board members questions, interact with us. Just send us your name and your email to either our email, or you can even find us on Instagram. Our handle is on the screen. And we will add you to our emailing list where we'll give you more information about how to be an active member, and all of that will be listed there. And yeah, so without further ado, I wanted to get into the panel today. So thank you so much to our panelists. We have Jennifer Shaw, an admissions officer from NYU College of Dentistry, as well as Noemi Benitez, an admissions coordinator from the UCLA School of Dentistry. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We really appreciate it on behalf of all pre-dental students. And so I just want to let you guys know how this is going to work. We're going to have about 5 pre-selected questions that we think cover a wide scope of what people usually want to ask. And then after that, we'll open it up to Q&A and we'll filter through those questions and get as many as we can. So thank you. Without further ado, let's get into the first question. This is just about how to stand out as a pre-dental. What are you guys looking for? So who would be a strong candidate and what qualities are you guys looking for?
All right, can you hear me?
You're good, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So at UCLA, our committee is always looking for well-rounded students. We do use the holistic review approach. So all of the application components are equally important. They're looking for students who have, in addition to competitive GPA and DET scores, they're looking for students who have experience, dental-related experience, work experience. Research is always a plus. It's not required for admissions. And we do pride ourselves on admitting a diverse student body. So the committee is looking for diversity in every sense of the word. Experiences, even if someone's having a career change, that's always something that we also look into.
Yeah, same here. And first of all, thank you for having us. But yeah, so for a strong applicant, so at NYU, we review the same as UCLA. We do a holistic review process. So we do look at everything on your application. There's no one specific experience or extracurricular or background that we're looking for. But that being said, being a good dentist does kind of involve being kind of the whole package. So, obviously with the academics and dental experience that, I'm sure every dental school looks for, but also the soft skills too, strong communications, especially as a dentist, you'll be communicating with patients. Maybe they haven't been to the dentist in a long time. Maybe they have a fear of the dentist. You'll be the leader of your team. So, having good communication, whether that's in your application or in your interview, like answering the questions on your application, those are, good things to have. And also consistency, both with your academics and with your extracurriculars. And then also, if you say like went through any hardships, we want to see that resilience, that maturity, the growth. And then also for just NYU specifically too, we are a large school in a large city. You'll be meeting all kinds of people. So first off, that's where the communications comes in again, being able to work with a lot of different people. And also, with New York City having that independence, because with NYU being a large school too, you're not always going to have your handheld or have things spoon fed to you. You will kind of need to be proactive at times. We have the resources for everything. It's just you may need to take the initiative to seek them out. And so if you're willing to kind of take charge on that and be active, get involved. And coming from Southern California, make sure you're okay with the weather too. Might need to get a winter coat, get some boots. But I think those are all just things that you can think about. Just know what you're getting yourself into with NYU in New York City too.
Thank you. So our next question has to do with the timeline of the application, and our participants want to know what does your admissions process and timeline look like, who's involved, and are there any changes due to COVID that we should know about?
So at UCLA, just like at most the dental schools in the country, you do apply, you submit your initial application through ADSAS. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. It's a centralized application service, and that opens up in early June. Usually it's on June 1st. Some years it might change if it's on a weekend. And we do start our review process in July. That's when our committee starts reviewing complete applications. And then we do start interviewing in August. So it's always a good idea to apply early, even though our deadline isn't until January 1st. By then, we usually have our class in school by then. And so we interview starting in August, and we usually finish up with our first group of interviews for the December 1st admissions offers in late November. So everyone who interviews up to that point, they will find out the committee's decision on December 1st. And our admissions committee who reviews the application, that includes faculty members from the dental school. There's also 2 representatives from the medical school. They're faculty in the medical school. And then we also have student reps on the committee. One of them is a 3rd-year student and the other one's a 4th-year student. And right now, as far as any changes to COVID, we are accepting prerequisite courses that are completed online, and we'll continue doing that until further notice. We'll be posting updates on that policy on our school website. We don't know what's going to happen in the fall, but at least through the summer, we will continue accepting online coursework. And if before COVID, pre-COVID, we didn't accept any prereqs that were accepted online or completed online. So that's for UCLA's program.
Yeah, so for us, our timeline is a little bit later than UCLA's. So we do start at the same time. So, you can start filling out your ADSAS application when it opens in May. You can start submitting in June. And we also usually start reviewing around late June, early July, whenever we start getting the verified applications. But we don't interview until October. Usually. So we don't start sending out our invites until mid to late September, something like that. And after that, we do have a very long process. We do have a large class to fill. So we will usually interview from October through March. And we will also start sending out our admissions decisions in December, whenever the day is that ADSAS says. And then after that, it'll be on a rolling basis. We used to tell people like, you'll get your decision within 2 weeks of your interview. This year, we've been doing it faster. People have been hearing back within a couple of days of their interview, if they interview after December decision day. As for who's involved, most of it's going to be in-house in our admissions office. We also have some faculty involved too, primarily with the interviewing, also with some of the reviewing the applications too. And also, I mean, just to know, our deans are not involved. So if anyone was thinking of emailing our deans to ask about their application status, they won't be able to answer that. So please direct all your questions to the admissions office. And for changes due to COVID, honestly, we haven't changed that much, especially timeline-wise, since we do things a little later. But for us, the big one was just our interviews moved to be online this year. And we did start accepting pass-fail grades for the prereqs too. If they were taken during spring or summer 2020, then we would accept pass-fail. After that, it's only if your school says that the course still has to be pass-fail. And yeah, I think that was pretty much it for the admissions process itself. I guess the other big thing was, we also started doing more online events. So that's more recruiting than admissions process. But we started doing virtual visits, since we can't have walk-in visitors. So now we're having students set up, or we're letting students set up these 30-minute video chats with an admissions officer. And we're also doing more webinars or Zoom meetings like today.
All right, thank you. So just with the nature of applying to dental school being so competitive and there being so many applicants, our next question is, what are the components of a competitive application aside from GPA and test scores with consideration for personal statement, letters of rec, etc.?
So at UCLA, I think we lightly mentioned this earlier. So the committee is looking for well-rounded students. So in addition to just the academics numbers, they're also looking into community service, and that service that's not related to dentistry. For shadowing, the committee likes to see an average of 100 hours. I know right now with COVID, it might have been difficult to complete some hours, but hopefully most of you had already started before COVID shadowing. And I think now that clinics are starting to open up, there might be more opportunities out there for you to continue shadowing. Also, work experience, that's something that the committee values a lot. So especially if you already graduated and you decide to take a gap year. I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But as long as you're keeping yourself involved and not just taking time off without doing anything during that year. And like I mentioned, research as well. And it can be any type of research. It doesn't have to be related to dentistry. And if you've been published also, then we do recommend that you submit a copy of the publication for the committee's consideration.
Yeah, for us, it's very similar. So we do also have a holistic review process. So we'll look at everything on your application. There's no one experience that we're looking for other than the 100 hours of dental shadowing. And that one is also recommended. And, same here, we know COVID, things are shut down. It might be harder to do that this year. But, just like Noemi said, we also kind of want to see that consistency with the dental experience too. So, especially this past year, for the most part, applicants did already start having dental shadowing before COVID too. Other than that, of course, your personal statement, your recommendation letters, your supplemental, your whatever else, those are all things that we'll look at too. There's no set rubric or percentage weight that we give to each section. It honestly kind of depends on the quality of the thing itself on your application.
Awesome, thank you. So for our next question, we wanted to dive deeper into extracurriculars and just putting the academics aside. What type of experiences do programs look for students to have on their application, and are there considerations for impacts due to COVID? And then additionally, should students consider taking a gap year to gain more experience? Would it help to build our application now with this COVID that kind of planted itself right in the middle of our time at undergrad?
So as far as experiences that committee at UCLA is looking, I think it's what just like at NYU, which Jennifer mentioned. Not looking for anything specific. They do want to make sure that as a student, you're involved in other activities, not just, you're not just doing good in school. Of course, they're looking at your GPA and DAT scores, but they are looking for well-rounded students. So there's not anything specific or any type of specific experience. If you're interested in doing community service with children or with the elderly, any type of experience is always great to have. As far as any special or any considerations or impacts due to COVID, this upcoming cycle, we here at UCLA, we're not going to have any additional considerations. I think that slowly things are going back to normal. So with the shadow, we touched on that earlier. So just try to find a dental office where you can put in a few more hours. For this previous cycle at UCLA, I think we were probably the only dental school in the country that we made the DAT optional. But now everything's back to normal, so you are required to take the exam for this upcoming cycle.
Hi, I was gonna jump in. My name is Selena. I was on the wrong Zoom earlier, but I actually attend UCLA. I'm a D3 right now, and I'm helping Noemi like kind of answer some of the questions. So, and I'm also on admissions committee, so I hope I can kind of give you insight. But I would say take a gap year if you feel like you need one. That's my opinion on gap years. They're beautiful and they're wonderful, and taking that extra time, maybe not for the program, but for yourself. If that's what you feel you need personally, that's what I would say. And I would honestly would say just in general, even if you take a gap year or you decide not to, you just want to show that you have still been interested in dentistry throughout this time. You know, you don't want to have a whole year where you haven't done anything dentistry related, whether that's like signing up for ASDA conferences that are virtual, maybe if you can't get into like, if offices aren't letting you shadow, or like just doing those virtual events, like doing virtual impressions day or virtual SHPEP or whatever they do have. I know like there are still some restrictions. I just think as long as you can expand your reach into anything you want to do, I think that honestly makes you a more well-rounded applicant. As long as you're still showing that you have some connection to the field, then you're fine.
Selena.
Sorry. Yeah, totally agree with what Selena was saying. You know, there's no one, I guess, like thing that we want to see from someone who takes a gap year. As far as reviewing the application goes, you know, of course, like look at your own application. If there are any weaknesses on there, do what you can to address those. If it's, you know, say like your grades weren't great, maybe you can take additional classes. If your DATs weren't good, you can consider retaking. But, you know, if everything looks fine, then yeah, you know, do anything as long as you do stay active. And, you know, if you feel like you need that gap year to avoid burnout before, you know, starting the marathon that is dental school, you know, that's fine with us. Like we have plenty of people who take gap years or, you know, lots of gap years if they're older career changers. And I guess the good thing about dentistry is, you know, like there are so many components that go into being a good dentist that, you know, pretty much anything you do can become a transferable skill that applies to, you know, helping you become a better dentist too. And then for what you do during undergrad, you know, like Noemi said earlier, you know, there's no one thing that we look for, but, you know, research, volunteering, employment, additional dental or healthcare experience, those are all things that look good on your application too. Yes, we do know that it's, you know, hard to do things due to COVID, but, you know, we have seen applicants still be able to adapt this past year too, still with, you know, volunteering or fundraising or, you know, doing their mentoring or tutoring over Zoom. So, you know, now as things open up more again, then, you know, hopefully people will be able to get more involved. If you've had to do just virtual shadowing this past year, then, you know, try to get some of that in-person dental experience too, when it's, you know, safe to do so.
Well, thank you, Selena, for joining us. I think your experience is also extremely valued. And I think the next question will be applicable to your experiences as well. We just wanted to know what advice you would give to someone applying this upcoming cycle, or if there's anything that we haven't covered up to this point you think is important, advice or just information, please feel free to share at this point. Thank you.
Okay. So obviously I don't know what all has been covered like prior to me joining. However, I believe, sorry if you can hear a helicopter as well. I just needed like some sunlight. So applying to this upcoming cycle, I would say one, don't be scared. Like the worst thing that's gonna happen is they tell you no. That's not a no forever. It's not a no for life. Like it's just like a not right now. So you don't have anything to be scared of. Just putting yourself out there is important. And I think you would honestly be surprised at where you'll actually like get in and like get accomplished. And even if you've had like a couple of setbacks, whether that be academic, I think UCLA and other schools are also doing a really good job of being more holistic with applications. Explain why you have a setback. It's okay to be open and vulnerable in your application, but also putting like a positive spin on things. I think that's what I personally look for when I'm going through applications. I like to see resiliency because at the end of the day, there are so many smart people and you're going to be in class with all of these smart people and you're looking like, oh my gosh, how did I even make it here? But it's not about being smart. It's about being resilient. That's what dental school is. Ms. Shaw was completely 100% right when she said that this is a marathon. It is something that you have to constantly uplift yourself. And I think if you've had life experiences, they don't have to be tragic. It could be anything. But I think being able to show that you are willing to work through hard things, because as a field, even after you get past dentistry, like or dental school, dentistry is still kind of hard because so many things are unexpected in the field. Like you'll see it when you're in clinic. Even today, I was in clinic this morning and I thought I was going in for like one thing and I ended up having to do like 5 other things and my appointment started late. And it's just about like still being positive and still being able to convey that positivity to your patients and make them feel comfortable. So it's like the character development. There's a lot of smart people out here and smart doesn't mean you're going to be a good doctor. So I want you in your application to tell me why you would be a good doctor. And I think by doing so and concentrating more on that aspect instead of what does my CV compile of, I think that really pushes your character through on your application. And I am always looking for character. So I hope that kind of helps. I think also you can mention if you have passions outside of dentistry, it helps us to know that you have something to keep you grounded throughout all of this storm. Like I said, I just needed to like be outside today. So I think being able to have that, it's just almost like don't concentrate on what you think we want to hear. Concentrate on what you have actually experienced and actually produced in your life to show why you want to do this and why you're willing to work through these hard moments to get to this point.
And I also want to add something really quickly. Apply early. Can't stress that enough. Like Jennifer mentioned earlier, you can start working on your application in May and you can submit in early June. And because of our timeline here where the committee starts reviewing applications in July, and it's important that you do submit an application early. And also as far as the DAT, I would recommend that you take that when you feel that you're fully prepared, even if that means maybe postponing it a couple of weeks or a few weeks from what you planned or you intended to take the exam. Yeah, I think that's always a good tip that I give to pre-dental students.
Yeah, totally agree with Selena and Noemi both. Yeah, so what I would say is for NYU specifically too, we're totally fine with applicants contacting us. I know it may not be the case with every single dental school out there, but for us, we are absolutely fine if you want to contact us, if you have any questions, any updates, anything like that. Or, let's say you, I don't know, accidentally left something off your application, especially if it's something that's giving context to let's say you had a really bad quarter of grades or something, and you forgot to mention that you had a lot of personal issues going on. There was whatever, something that could give us a better understanding, because, like we do have that holistic review process. Those are all things that we will take into account. So, don't be afraid to, tell us all of that. Just like Selena said, we're fine with seeing that vulnerability. We just want to, see how you got past it, how you adapted and overcame it. And so, yeah, don't be afraid to reach out, talk to us if you have any questions. Take what you see on SDN with a grain of salt. You can't trust internet strangers completely all the time. And then also just, for the application itself, be organized. Cannot stress this enough. Be organized, pay attention to detail, do your homework on each school that you're interested in. I would recommend having an Excel sheet with every school that you're interested in, their names, their application deadlines, their prerequisites, how many dental shadowing hours they're looking for, any details that you can think of, have it on that sheet and just keep everything super clear, and proofread. Please proofread your applications. It's a competitive process. You don't want to get knocked out for something super silly on your application. And I don't mean just your personal statement. I mean also your experiences, your own name and date of birth, your supplemental. If you contact us, make sure you're contacting the right school. So, those are all, things that we will see and take into account when we review your application.
Okay, and with that, I think we can now open it up to Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, you can drop it in the chat and we will communicate those to our panelists. So we do have one question right now in the chat that says, how long does it usually take for application to be verified?
As far as the ad test, right, verifying application, just want to make sure that, I think that's what the question's referring to. I think it varies. It depends on how quickly you submit your transcripts for verification after you submit the application online. Usually, I think it takes an average of 2 to 3 weeks, but if it takes you longer to submit your transcripts to ad test for verification, then it can take a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think it also depends on, like how many people are applying. Then I think like earlier on in the cycle, it may take about 3 or 4 weeks since, everyone's submitting their applications then. And also, like if there's any issues, let's say a class was entered incorrectly, or, you forgot to report that you attended a school or something, then it can take a little longer to verify your application. But yeah, it's usually, I would say somewhere between like 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 weeks, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. And I agree with Ms. Shaw when she said being organized is key. If you're organized, you can just submit everything like bam, 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 bam. And then you hit the submit button and then you just need to like go do something else, like have something else to do. Don't sit there, just be looking at it, and because it's gonna come through. If it's been like 5 months and you don't hear anything, then like, but just be done with it because it's a stressful process.
So our next question has to do with the personal statement, and our attendees would like to know, what would you consider to incorporate into the personal statement in order to make it stronger?
I'd say mention dentistry within like your first paragraph or two. Like I think sometimes I've read personal statements and they take a long time to get to the dentistry part. And I understand we all have like a journey, but like people are reading, 200 applications sometimes a week, like just to screen them. So mention dentistry in the beginning somewhere. Try to, I would say this is like kind of the opposite. Try to have variety of words. I think a lot of times people get caught up using like passion a lot and love a lot, and those are important words, but they're not the only words. So I think having several people review your personal statement is good. And also thesaurus that's my go to as I'm writing my statement. I'm always using thesaurus, like how can I mix this up? But yeah, I would say you do want to, in my opinion, convey your character to me. That's personally just what I'm looking for. I know not everybody who's looking at these applications is on that level, but I start with the personal statement when I open up someone's application. I don't even start with your grades, because at the end of the day, like, I need to know who you are, and I need to know what you've taken from life and what you want to bring to dentistry. Like, what do you want to bring to the field? And I think those are the things I would say.
Yeah, I would say answer the question. And, you know, it just seems like a very, you know, captain obvious thing to say. But, you know, I feel like a lot of personal statements, they kind of tend to be like CV summaries or like just restating their resumes. And, you know, the point of the personal statement is to say, why do you want to be a dentist? So if you want to talk about your experiences, totally fine. You know, like Selena said, you know, it'll give us a better idea of, you know, who you are and give us a sense of your character. But, you know, at the end of the day, don't forget to answer the question. Yeah, mention dentistry as soon as you can. And you know, that also goes for you know, answering any other questions like in our supplemental. Also, you know, make sure you actually answer the question. If you want to tout your accomplishments, sure, I'm sure a lot of you know, consultants or coaches will say, you know, everything's a chance to sell yourself. Technically, yes, but also don't forget to answer the question.
Okay, so another question in the chat is about working as a dental assistant. So one of our attendees wants to know, does working as a dental assistant count towards the 100 hours needed for shadowing?
At UCLA, it does. The committee is looking more for most students do their dental, or they do shadowing, but any type of dental related experience, if you're working as a dental assistant, that will also be taken into consideration.
Yeah, same here. We're fine with dental assisting. We don't have any specific requirements for what kind of setting your dental experience has to be in. Could be a private office, could be a clinic. I guess the only thing that we usually recommend is, you know, have at least some of it be with a general dentist, since you'll get the widest variety. But you know, otherwise we don't have a set requirement.
And then going off of that question, would it be best to list those hours under shadowing, or to list those completely separate from shadowing, and then the admissions committee would consider that as being dental experience and group them together themselves? How would that work?
We usually group them as ours. So like some people list them under shadowing, some people, or a lot of people list it under employment. But as long as it's in the application somewhere, then we'll find it. I think the only issue we ever have is when we can't find it. Then we're like, all right. So, and I will also, like, just throwing this out there, don't lie. I've seen applications where people have like put numbers that just don't even make sense, you know, and we can catch it. Like, it's not a secret. So just don't lie, even if you are a little short on, say you have like 80 hours instead of 100. Explaining that makes you look better than lying, because like once you lie, we just have to drop you completely. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah, I have to agree with Selena. Forgot what I was going to say, sorry.
You're good, you're good. Let's see, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. Okay, sorry, I just remembered what I was going to say. As far as our committee, they don't, they prefer not to see if you're projecting hours, like you're listing hours that you haven't actually completed. You should only list those shadowing hours that have been completed. This past cycle, I think we saw a little bit more of some applicants listing hours that they had not actually completed yet. They planned on completing them, but only list the hours that you have completed on the application. And so going off of that, would that, oh, sorry, Jennifer, go ahead and then I'll you.
Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, same here. We do, prefer that you just say your completed hours instead of projected. And yeah, same as Selena said, as long as you put it on your application somewhere, we've seen it in any section, honestly. It could be under dental related experience or employment or shadowing or volunteering. We've seen it all. As long as it's on the application, we'll see it. And yeah, that's also part of why I said proofreading too. Make sure your timelines and the hours that you list for your extracurriculars are accurate and physically possible. Otherwise, you'll look like you're trying to claim you worked somewhere for like 20,000 hours in 2 weeks. And I know you didn't do that. So yeah, just make sure you pay attention to that.
And so going off of that question, I was just going to add, so would that be, we should list all of our experience, whether that's shadowing or whatever it may be, up till the day that the application is submitted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the patient billing office.
Awesome. Okay, we have another, sorry, continue.
Sorry. And you can also update your AdStats application after you submit it too. So if you have additional hours later, then you can update that, or you can email us, let us know.
Okay, we have another question in the chat. Does dental experience only count the clinical side, or would working as a front desk dealing with dental insurance and logistical things also count?
I think it counts, just not as shadowing. Not like where assisting will count as shadowing. I don't think that will, but I would still list it. I mean, it can't hurt you. If anything, it'll only help you. And also because whenever you get into dental school, at least at UCLA, you do have to know a little bit about like the administration side. So it's nice to like come in with like a well-rounded, perspective of dentistry, not just clinical. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think our committee, they, like Selena said, they're not going to, and they can only help you, but definitely do the majority of your shadowing a dentist. That's the committee just wants to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, that you know what the career involves.
Yeah, exactly. When we say 100 hours, we mean chair side on the clinical side. But yeah, definitely any dental office work, or if you do something in a dental lab or something like that, go ahead and still put it on your application. Probably under dental related experience or employment, or whatever the case is for you. Yeah, that it'll still help.
Okay, so our next question is about what you guys recommend to re-applicants. So do you guys have any advice for re-applicants or anything you think they should know?
One recommendation that I do have for re-applicants is as far as your letters of evaluation, you can definitely ask the same evaluators to submit letters on your behalf, but I would also provide them with an updated CV so they can update some of that information. What our committee doesn't like to see, they don't want to read the exact same letter that you submitted the previous cycle, because they do have access to those previous applications. So if they want to go ahead and look through your previous file, they have access to that. Same thing with the personal statement. You can always make improvements on that. You can always work with someone and have them provide you with feedback on your personal statement. So again, so you don't submit the exact same one as the previous cycle.
Yeah, agreed. And for us, like, we can't give exactly why an admissions decision is made. We get asked for feedback a lot, but we can't give specifics on that. What we usually tell applicants is just look at your application, see what your weaknesses may be, and usually it's pretty clear. Say if it's something like their GPA or something, then do something about that. But yeah, we will be looking at what have you done differently since the previous cycle. So whether that's academics or your experiences or your personal statement or whatever else.
Oh man, I forgot my thought too. Oh, okay. There is a specific question on the application, at least the one I've been looking at, that asks if you've already applied to dental school the first time. So there is a question, so you will have time to kind of like explain or whatnot, or however you choose to word that. And I would also say maybe incorporating it into your personal statement, or like just somewhere in your application somewhere, to show how you have grown from that experience, because that's a hard experience to not get into school, or maybe not get into the one you want, or something happened that prevented you from going. So I would say just to mention that, because that is part of your dental experience. Even if it wasn't a positive experience, it still happened, and you are able to grow from it and still apply again. And I don't think being a reapplicant is going to hold you back. If anything, like I said, for me, it just shows that you really want this. It's easy to just quit if you didn't get in the first time. I think it's hard and humbling to reapply. So don't be afraid of that.
Okay, so the next question in the chat is about what activities you guys recommend to develop hand dexterity. Or maybe what are some cool things you've seen?
Okay, let me be 100% like just super honest with you. Unless you have been like maybe an assistant, maybe like something where you've actually been in the dental field, it is a learning curve. Okay, like it's just not easy. It's nothing you've ever done. And I can't think of too many activities that simulate what holding a handpiece is like, or just gaining that control. So if you're like, how can I like really make myself better? There are some courses, like I know some people who teach lab courses to help prepare you for dental school, but it is going to be a learning curve. I think regardless, a lot of people say they've sewn, if they've played instruments, or whatever some people have put in their application that they braid hair. I thought that was pretty cool. So anything that shows that you are like coordinated is fine, but I don't think that's like a section where, personally, for me, I'll only speak for me, where I'm looking at the section like, oh, you don't have anything, knocked. I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay, this is cool, but that's it. So don't freak out too much about that.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I'm not a dentist, but I've heard the same thing from the students too. You can do all those hobbies, all those activities, but at the end of the day, there's no amount of crocheting or playing violin or whatever else it is that's going to be exactly the same as holding that handpiece and actually drilling or anything like that. Yeah, no matter what, it is going to be a learning curve.
Okay. There aren't any questions in the chat as of now.
Do you guys have any questions? Maybe even if it's not about like applying, do you guys have any questions about like student experience? I'm gonna say while I'm in the room.
You say was the most difficult part of starting dental school?
I think it is a little bit of imposter syndrome. I think being at UCLA, where you're surrounded by so many intelligent individuals, that's hard, because you're like, how did I get here? Something went wrong. And that's not the truth. Everybody is intelligent, especially in their own way. I find that I'm much better with patient care than I was with like academics. So I think not getting discouraged by what's around you, not comparing yourself to other people, and remembering what makes you kind of unique. And as has been stated, it is a marathon, it is a long journey. And with this journey, it's not, like I said, it's not just about being smart. You'll be able to shine in different ways. Some people are really good at lab. Some people are really like, for me, I'm not going to say I'm like a hand god or anything yet. Like, I'm not there, but you know what? I know how to make somebody feel comfortable in the chair. And that's like half the battle. So I told myself I have honors in personality, maybe not honors in class, but that's fine. So I just think that was difficult. But I think once you get over that hump, then you're fine.
Okay, and then we have another question in the chat about if you guys have any specific advice for first year undergrads.
Your GPA should be good. And I say this to anybody who is a first year anything, first year high school, first year undergrad, first year anything. For some reason, I don't know if it's how it's calculated, I don't know the math behind it, but if you do really, really well your first year, it sets the tone. Like how you do your first year sets the tone for your GPA. So like if you do well your first year, then it's like, okay, you can have a couple classes where you're like, all right, I got a B on this class, and it's not going to tank your GPA. It will still stay high. Vice versa, if you start out really low your first year, it's so hard to get it up, like so hard. And I think as you go through college, your classes are just going to get harder. So it just like you have things just against you at that point. So if you're a first year in undergrad, you don't have to start studying for the DAT. Please don't. Just focus on getting your grades right, and focus on also you're in college now. So explore, find yourself, because that is how you will find so many other lovely things about yourself, is just to take that time for you and enjoy, because college is awesome.
Yeah, totally agree. Take the time, explore your different interests. I mean, especially at a school like UCLA, where you have so many things available to you. Yeah, definitely take advantage of that. And as far as grades go, we understand if someone has a rough transition to college, maybe their first quarter isn't great, but yeah, do pull yourself up after that. And one thing I have heard from a lot of applicants is, they regretted not asking for help. They were afraid that they were, going to be seen as stupid or, something like that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Do it as soon as you can. Go to the office hours, go to the TAs, go to the advisors, whatever else you have. And pull up those grades, because yeah, like Selena said, like it's only going to get harder, and it does kind of set the tone. So kind of correct your course as soon as you can. And then yeah, for extracurriculars, other than exploring your interests, if you know that you want to do dentistry, join the clubs like PDSOP, meet the upperclassmen. They can always give you advice on, how to prepare for the application process, or, prepare for your DATs, or, whatever else it is. You still have time. So, of course, enjoy your college experience. But it's still, it's a good idea to set that foundation if you can early on.
So we have a really good question for those who are applying. What can we expect from the interview, and what's your best advice to prepare?
UCLA, we haven't decided if we're most likely going to continue with virtual interviews like we did this past cycle. We don't know for sure yet, but last year, if things remain the same, then we do the interviews on Zoom. And you have a few presentations. You also have to write an essay. You have about 20 minutes to write that essay. At the beginning, we start our interviews at about 8:30 in the morning, and it's about a half-day session. So we finish around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You do get breaks in the middle. We know it's difficult having to sit in front of a computer for an entire half day. And you do submit your essay to us online. And then you interview with 2 different faculty members. It's one-on-one. So you're going to have the first interview with a faculty member, and that will take about 30 minutes. And then you'll move on to the second interview. We'll switch you in your room, and you'll interview with a different faculty member. And we usually have an average of 15 people per session. And then you also have a financial presentation and a Q&A panel with one of our students from each class, one of our student reps from each class. A first year, a second year, a third year, and a fourth year.
Yeah, for us, it's about a half day. So everyone gets invited for an interview in the morning. And so for this past year, what happened was everyone got invited for I think it was a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time welcome session. So, anyone on the West Coast, make sure you remember the time zone differences too. We do have people who forget about that from time to time. And so the welcome session is just with our director, Richard. He just kind of goes over the schedule for the day. Everyone can meet each other. We usually have about 12 people interviewing per day. And then after that, you'll have a one-on-one interview with a faculty member. And then after that, a one-on-one with someone from the admissions office. And then when you're done with that, there'll be a Q&A also led by our director first. And then we'll also have our student ambassadors join about halfway through. And then, you guys can ask them all your questions about student life and all that. So yeah, the whole thing takes about half a day. How to prepare for it. I guess there's the standard, we want to know that you're going to be a good dentist and you're ready to come to NYU, you see yourself here and all that. So, prepare for the standard questions you may expect for gauging someone being ready to be a dentist, and also do your homework on the schools that you're interviewing at. Make sure you see things or you find things that you are interested in at each school. And honestly, this is a question that you should be able to answer by the time you submit your application. You should not be showing up at your interview with 0 answers for that question. And yeah, I think other than that, be yourself. Don't be nervous. I know it's easy for us to say being on, not the interviewee side, but we are just trying to get to know you better. We're not trying to trap you or trick you or anything. Just be yourself, know your stuff. You'll be fine.
I'd also like to add at UCLA, it is a blind interview. So the people who interview you have not seen your application. So you're really going in there just like to prove, like you're a good person. But I agree, mock interviews are key to me because you'd be so surprised. You could have written like a really great personal statement. You could have a bomb application, and then you'll get in the interview or the mock interview and somebody's like, so why dentistry? And you're like, and it's a hard question you're like, okay, I have to take this whole 46-page application and like just pile it into like a paragraph or so in Word form. And so I would say mock interviews are good because you want to be articulate. That is something I will say I know that they're looking for in interviews. Are you going to have good communication with patients? Can we understand you? Don't be mumbling, like you want to speak up, be well-spoken. And I think mock interviews are a good way to boost your confidence so your voice isn't like super shaky. And then there was one more thing I was going to say. Perhaps it'll come to me, but yeah, that's the key. I think if you have like HR friends, I had somebody who I knew in HR, like in a completely different field, and they conduct all the interviews for the jobs usually. So they were able to like really kind of prepare me for that. And yeah.
Well,
Yeah, totally
awesome.
agree. Do the mock interviews if you can. They'll let you know if your say your answers are a little too long-winded. None of your answers should be 15 minutes. I have gotten 15-minute answers to like fairly simple questions before. And down to things like your posture, your handshake, when we're in person anyways, the way you hold yourself. Yeah, those are all definitely like things that you can ask someone to kind of help you watch out for.
All right. Well, thank you so much to all 3 of you, Jennifer, Noemi, and Selena, for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we just want to let you guys know you can submit your feedback at the link in the chat. And the Career Center has really good resources for applying to dental school or a graduate school in general. They can help you review your personal statement and do interviews as well, mock interviews. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming today and taking the time out of your day to answer some of the most pressing questions.
There was one more question. I don't mind staying. I don't have a patient after this or anything, so I don't mind staying later to answer it. I didn't, if everybody else wanted to like get off, I was just gonna like answer it super quick.
Sure.
I know it was about what kind of opportunities do you get to prepare you as a dentist? So I will say at UCLA, I think you get a lot of opportunities. Any field, I won't even say field, any aspect of dentistry that you're interested in, we have a student organization for. And those student orgs usually bring on a lot of panelists, but anything. And to be honest, I will say that was one of my stronger reasons for choosing UCLA, is because I feel like, one, we have every specialty here. Not every school can say that. I think that's important. And two, I think regardless, we still have just so much opportunity. Like there's like a psychology and dentistry club. There's a healthy dentist initiative where they just focus on like our mental health of students. Like there's such a variety of anything. And then you have the specialty clubs, you have women in dentistry, you have, like DSD, which is like a fraternity. So if you just like need the stress relief and you just need to have a drink every now and then, like those are things that I think will help you. But also DSD, there's like older dentists and DSD still. So they have socializing events where you can network with people who are in the field, have been in the field. And I think ultimately we have a lot of really good staff who genuinely care, and you can always get connections and advice and really good mentorship through them, or even through the part-time faculty. They're good as well because they are still practicing within the field, and you'll see them in clinics, so you can really connect with them that way as well. But ultimately, I will say, if you want the opportunities, you have to take them. You cannot wait on somebody to give them to you, because they're going to be there. But if that's what sets you apart, is I know a lot of people who, I won't say a lot, but I know some people who are doing dental school and they're not involved in anything else. And it's almost kind of like, I don't like to judge people or anything because people have other stuff going on, but like, it almost feels like you're not taking advantage of where you're at. You're in this place where you have so many different aspects of dentistry right in front of you. And it's like, if you don't take the time to really explore those, you almost did yourself a disservice and you're not getting your money's worth. So I would say take advantage of those, take the initiative. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing at NYU too. We have pretty much anything you can think of with the research and student clubs and outreach, and that's just at the dental school itself. That's not including anything at NYU, the university, which you would have access to as a full NYU student, and of course being in the middle of Manhattan. So yeah, definitely, meet the people, join the clubs, go to the lunch and learns, get the bang for your buck that you are shelling out quite a bit of to be at a private school in the middle of Manhattan. Like make the most of your experience. As far as preparing you for dental practice specifically, of course, our students do get a lot of clinical experience. You have all of New York City as your patient pool. Fortunately, we are a big enough draw in New York, and we are centrally located, that we're easy to get to for pretty much anyone living in New York. And for practice management, we have practice management courses. We have a dental economics club that's all about the business side of dentistry, which I know a lot of students are interested in also. And yeah, I guess beyond that is, just being with so many people, you get a lot of opportunities to network and meet other people like you. So yeah, I guess kind of same thing, like nobody's going to be coming to find you and dragging you to these things, but as long as you take the initiative and join all of these activities, then you have plenty of opportunities.
I just want to say thank you again for everybody for sharing their expertise. Selena, for sharing your experience and your advice. Thank you so much for spending the time with us and helping our students get better acquainted with dental school application process, especially these two institutions, but generally speaking too. A lot of great advice. I learned a lot. It was my professional development for dentistry for the quarter. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm going to stop recording.